Hello, so today we'll be talking about Niti Aayog and eventually CIC also. So first of all, let's talk about like what is Niti Aayog and how did it replace Planning Commission and etc. So Niti Aayog is generally it is introduced as a part of cooperative federalism. So it's a mechanism to understand how Indian federalism has been mostly unitary in feature and federal in structure. So, but this Niti Aayog has been implemented to make that federalism like not to be too rigid and too flexible, but the states will also have a say in it. Unlike the planning commission structure was mostly coming from the center to the states. So this was replaced in 2015. So this is also this is basically a think tank. So this is think tank from the point from the institution of government of India. And what does it do? It formulates policies which are helpful for running the country. And this in a way they suggest policies to a state government with relevant and strategic advices toward the development processes. So, as I've said, it also fosters cooperative federalism. So, that is the main point of introducing it, so that it would foster the federal structure and imply by the federal structure of India. Now let us understand the evolution of the Niti Aayog. So basically, this has replaced Planning Commission of India, and the Planning Commission was established in 1950. So it was done by resolution of the Government of India, and the Planning Commission had run from 1950 to 2014. So it had formed like it is stipulated for every 5 years. So basically, we had 12 5-year plans until 2015, but it had failed to adapt to the changing dynamics of the world, changing dynamics of the economic structure, especially with the globalization era and the global village concept have come into the picture. So the political economy changing dynamics, it couldn't adapt itself. So it you can say it was too outdated, or it was the red tapeism was more because it had got the rigid structure, the red tapeism, the structure that it produces. It was too difficult to change to the latest dynamics. And the allocation of revenues to the state also was rigid. It was coming up from the union. And it was like the states were not involved at any point of stage. So it was mostly coming from the center to the states without their involvement. Okay, so without the involvement of the states, it was coming from the center. So this was one of the uh, failed feature of the Planning Commission of India. So the it also the states got no fiscal autonomy, and they have got no say. They were not part of it. So basically, like if anybody make up any plan which is related to you, and they forget to involve you. So what do you think about it? So it's mostly wasteful, right? They don't know what do you need the most. So it happened the same case with the planning commission, where states are not involved, like they were not involved to show their demands or anything. So this was kind of a failure on part of planning commission. And the states also have no say in international treaties involving their resources. And the planning commissions failed to achieve their targets because it was not practical. The targets were not practical. They were not aligned with the economy. They were not aligned with the times that it was running in. So obviously it had to fail. And the let's suppose if the plan has failed, now who is going to take the responsibility? There were no one really accountable to be asked for if the planning commission goals are failed to hit that year. Okay. And also with changing market dynamics and the changing world market dynamics, it was not really adapting itself to the latest dynamics. And we all know with the 1970s, this regional parties, the local politics, the grassroots level politics have really come into picture. And they've been wanting to be involved in certain policies, but when the development policies which are meant for them itself are not involved in such things. So it was a more of an outcry from this regional uh, parties and the coalition parties that have come into picture, because earlier it was one party dominance, and the party in power at the center and the party in power at the state were more or less the same, right? So there were no flaws, there were no the disturbances in the policy making or the policy flow. But once the coalition politics have come into the picture and the regional parties have started to play a role, so they started criticizing that this is mostly central in tendency. Like whatever the government is at the center, they are making the policies for our states, which doesn't even include us in that policy making structure. So that's why it was criticized. And discrimination of ruling parties at the governing at the center and the state levels were different, because after 1967, four general elections, the dynamics in the state, the party dynamics of India have really changed. And the centralized economic planning became a target of criticism because it was mostly coming from the center, not from the grassroots levels to the center. And the states were also not involved in making such policies. Then structure and composition of Niti Aayog. So Niti Aayog is a multi-tiered structure. Now, who can all be the members of this Niti Aayog? So first coming to the chairman, Prime Minister of India is the chairman to the Niti Aayog. Then the governing councils, which is the second most body, to this multi-tiered structure consists of chief ministers of all the states and lieutenant governors of the UTs. And the regional councils are also formed for the fixed term to discuss on specific issues. Then that also consists of chief ministers of the states and the governors of UTs. And there are special invitees or the eminent experts also to be nominated by the Prime Minister. So, unlike the Planning Commission, it's a full-time organizational framework. Other than that, it also consists of a vice chairperson who is to be appointed by the Prime Minister, and there are five full-time members and two part-time members. And there are also ex officio members to this Niti Aayog. They should be consisting of four members of Union Council ministers. They also to be nominated by the Prime Minister, and there's a CEO to Niti Aayog, Chief Executive Officer. Chief Executive Officer also to be appointed by the Prime Minister for a fixed tenure. Like who can be the Chief Executive Officer? This officer has to be a rank of Secretary to the Government of India. And the Secretariat should be deemed if necessary. Then there are special wings also to this Niti Aayog. So there are two specialized divisions. First one is Team India Hub. This comprises of representatives of every state and ministries, and it's a permanent platform. It doesn't dissolve once the meeting is done or whatsoever. What do they do is this Special India Hub. It helps establish the direct communication channel between the Niti Aayog and the states. So, and the other one is Knowledge and Innovation Hub. This is basically a research wing where it will have specialists, it will have scholars. They will look into like what policies could be you could be used for the betterment of the development of the Indian economy. And another one is consultancy wing. So this basically provides solutions, and it also suggests remedies. So it helps in coordinating the planning between state and the center to basically foster the decentralized planning structure. So the third wave of democracy that India has come up with. Then there are certain objectives of this Niti Aayog. So first one is to prioritize national development and strategies with the active involvement of the states. And also they provide greater representation of states and union territories from the governing council. And they also provide structured support initiatives and mechanisms within the states on a continuous basis. You have to understand this structure does not demolish itself or does not vanish once the purpose is done. Okay, it's not like finance commission. This structure exists. This will look into all the prospects that have been coming, and it will take the opinions. It will take the it will give its valuable inputs even to the states for their if they ask for any suggestions. Then it also fosters physical federalism. So basic concept of this Niti Aayog is to foster federalism. So to instead of being it bargaining federalism, or instead of being it a federalism with a unitary tilt, they just wanted to improve that federal structure in India where the states will cooperate each other and also with the center. So this in a way brings out this cooperative federalism, and also states can change the centrally sponsored schemes, and they are free here. They are free to design their own policies for the development with their own self fund. So if a state thinks that it's well flourishing, and if it thinks that it's necessary for for its members, for the citizens of that particular states need to be addressed on certain issues, then states are free to make policies, okay, on those certain issues. Like example, even if you look at uh, the Mahalakshmi scheme is also a state-based policy because it deems necessary to involve the women and to give free buses, etc. So the state is free to make its own policies. It's only that they have to be funding it from their own revenues. Okay, so basically self-funding. So some of the few other objectives are like physical resources uh, for each state will be transferred to be spent by the state governments autonomously based on their own priorities. And also they can formulate credible plans at village level and integrate villages institutionally. So this basically involves everything from the union center to the local governments. So in a structured mode where nothing is neglected. Okay. And nothing comes from top-down orders. So basically involves everybody in making policies so they would help better understand what are they need of. Then it aims to strengthen institutions of local self-government by encouraging grassroots level and participative planning. They also consider to be sections of the society, and the economic policy that incorporates national security interest. So another one would be the objectives for constant innovative improvements and partnerships with the national and international think tanks. It creates a knowledge, innovation, and entrepreneurial support system. And it is also basically a platform for intersectional and interdepartmental issues. So Niti Aayog does not simply just involve the state and the unions and state union and the local self government itself, but it will also act as a mediator between interdepartmental, interministerial compositions where two or more ministries are involved in formulating a particular scheme. And it is also provided with the state of art resources to help better the good governance concept. And also it focuses on technology upgradation and capacity building. So it will also look into the decentralized planning, conflict resolution, and capacity building. So these are the main motto of this Niti Aayog is basically decentralized planning. The planning is done where every party, I mean state, local governments, and the union is involved, and it tries to resolve the conflict, and it tries to build the capacity building. It tries to improve the capacity building of the economy. And it also promotes cooperative and competitive federalism. So cooperative means coming together and working together. Competitive means it's a healthy competition. Like, oh, this state is functioning well, then I should be up to the mark to cross that level where it has exceeded. So this has to be done by the other states. So that's how the competitive spirit is ignited among the states. And the formulation of policy framework, and it provides technical support. It also acts as a resource center, knowledge and innovation hub. It also monitors and evaluates how a policy is working and how the policy should be framed for the betterment of the economy. And it also develops, monitors, and evaluates. So this is done through DMEO office. So this DMEO office, what it does, it collects data on the performance of various ministries on a real time basis. So this is not like once the thing is done, let us evaluate at the end of the 5 years, but it rather does this real time monitoring where the things could be rectified immediately. Immediately, I mean, like in within a gap of like few months, it could be rectified rather than waiting until the end of the all the 5 years in order to get things done. Then the initiative, there are certain initiatives that has been made by the Niti Aayog. So you can understand this is a 15-year vision document. So now what's the title of this 15 years vision document? It's vision, strategy, and action plan. It covers all the social goals of the government and also national development agenda, where 7 year strategy and action plan has been in spanning, which is from 2017 to 2024. And the 3 year action plan enlists all the goals like subgroup of chief ministers and on skill development, on Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, then sanitation coverage, improve cleanliness, eliminate open defecation. It also has come up with two task forces. So one of that task force is elimination of poverty in India. Another is agricultural development. So elimination of poverty in India is basically that it combats poverty and reduction of poverty through employment incentive and sustained rapid growth and implementation of anti-poverty programs. Then on agricultural development, so it had developed focused on agricultural marketing and the betterment of PDS, public distribution system. So then Governing Council of Niti Aayog has prepared an appraisal document which would basically run from 2012 to 2017. Then another some of the initiatives are transforming India lecture series, where it would bring the new ideas in development policy to policy makers. And also Niti Aayog non-resident fellows and Niti non-resident senior fellows, where the research and development has been encouraged through the betterment through by adding on the experts interested into improving the Indian economic structure. And this will also look into the strategic disinvestment of the public service enterprises. Then another one is Atal Innovation Mission. So AIM is nothing but it's a lab, tinkering lab, where it's been there all across the schools in India, and the students would be taught on like robots, 3D printers, internet, etc. Then Atal incubation centers are basically nothing but the it encourages the startups and enable innovation entrepreneurship. Then Atal New India Challenges is it supports creation of technological projects. Then the Global Entrepreneurship Summit in 2017, it had held where investors and startup ecosystem has been devised to understand how these things help in improvement of the in the economic structure of India. And it also looked into the launch of high-speed railways, promotion of digital payments, holistic developments, then says special economic zones uh, from a 10-year tax holiday, then capacity building of urban local bodies with under Amrut, then infrastructure that could ensure adequate robust sewage networks, water supply for urban transformation. Then some of the agricultural reforms that you can see is Model Act on Agricultural Land Leasing, 2017. So this is basically to recognize the rights of the tenant to that land. Then the Agricultural Marketing and Farmer Friendly Reforms Index to sensitize the states. Then to look into the direct benefit transfer in fertilizer, then alternative mechanisms from implementation of minimum support price for farmers, then strategy for new India at the rate of 75, then measuring states' performance in health, education, and water management. Then another some of the initiatives are aspirational districts program, where it transformed 115 identified districts. So this and also it sponsored policy research and publishes several papers. Then Saath is transforming human capital initiatives like Ayushman Bharat, artificial intelligence, and water conservation methods, measures, partnerships with national international organizations are some of the initiatives of the Niti Aayog. So Niti Aayog is basically it's an replacement or an it's an it was an offshoot of dysfunctioned or irregular functioning of planning commission. So Niti Aayog has come into the picture. So this like it's a structured body where it exists and states, local governments, everything is involved from the center in making any policies. So nothing is left, and it's not a top-down order on decisions of the policy implementations, but rather every party to it is involved in it. And now let us understand Central Information Commission. So Central Information Commission is been established under RTI Act 2005. So this is a statutory body which has been formed by Gazette notification by Government of India, and it's headquartered in New Delhi. Then what does it do? It looks into the complaints and appeals pertaining to offices, public sectors, financial institutions, which work under government of India. Okay, so this doesn't involve any private body, but the bodies which are functioning under government of India, and it will maintain. Why was it introduced? To maintain the transparency in the government structure, like how. Let's see. If the government is functioning, there has to be somebody to look into the issues, right? So if if government is functioning th- and its bodies, there has to be somebody to look into it, like for the proper functioning. That's what the democracy is, right? So the democratic structure is to look into the proper functioning of institutions, that these institutions are not controlled by certain bodies like the bureaucratic structures or under in the hands of few. So, in order to look into that and maintain transparency of the governance, the CIC was formed. And like CIC means Central Information Commission, this has to be at the center. And also, it got State Information Commission, SIC. So, these are to be constituted by the central and the state governments, respectively. Then, Chief Information Commission, who is the chairman of the CIC, should not, and also it should have one chief information commission and other information commissioners, not to be more than 10. Okay, so the membership has to be limited to the 10, and how are they appointed? They're all appointed by the President of India. Then who there's a body that recommends the names to the President of India. Now this body will consist of Prime Minister, who acts as a chairperson, then leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, Union Cabinet Minister nominated by the Prime Minister, and other members may be established in other parts of the country with the approval of central government. So this body, this group will suggest a name to the president. Then president in turn appoints CIC and all of the members. Now, who can be chairperson of this CIC? So first one, they have to be persons of eminence in public life, knowledge and experience in law, science, technology, social services, management, journalism, mass media administration, and governance. So these are basic qualifications of the eligibility criteria that has to be given to the members. Supposedly, if they have been the CIC, then they should not be a member of parliament or member of any state legislative assembly. I mean, they should not be any sitting MP or MLA. Okay. And also, they should not hold any office of profit. So these are certain three criteria where exist. The person can be deemed to be eligible to be Chief Information Commissioner. Then what is the term and office of the CIC or any other members? Is that they should hold office for a term to be prescribed by the central government, or they attain the age of 65 years. And to be understood that as per RTI Act, which was amended in 2019, these chief commissioner, chief information commissioner is not eligible for reappointment. So this is an amendment that was made in 2019 in RTI Act 2005. So, and also salary, how do they draw their salary and how it will be? It will be same as that of election commissioner. So it will be same as that of election commissioner. So, and also election commission of India. We have discussed it in the previous lectures. You can go through the YouTube lectures again if you haven't followed it up. Then powers and function. It receives and inquires into a complaint from any person regarding the information requested under RTI. Then suo powers of a civil code, they reject the applications. Then they can compensate for any loss or any detriment suffered by the applicant, and also the State Information Commission, also to be constituted by the state government. Now, who appoints the State Information Commissions? They are appointed by the Chief Minister. Then Right to Information Act also you can understand what is it. So it was understood through the case of Kulwal versus the Jaipur Municipal Corporation, which was to had its judgment in Supreme Court. So what happened under this is under Article 19, it right to information without information cannot be fully used by the citizens. Then RTI Act replaced the Freedom of Information Act 2002. So it had invariably asked questions to the government and different public utility providers. So it helps with citizens avail a quicker services from the government agencies. And since the act enables them to ask questions like why a particular application or an official proceedings get delayed. So you can ask the authorities the question like why is this thing not been moved or not been done as per the time. So this act gives the right to the citizens to question if there are any discrepancies in the functioning of the government. Then basically its main motto is to make India corruption free. So this can bring up the transparency and accountability among the people of in a position of the government institutions. Then it was amended in 2019 to bring about changes with respect to the tenure and service conditions of CIC and ICs at both central and state levels. Then Section 44(3) of Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023, it was modified under the Section 1J of RTI Act. So you need not remember this sections 1J and the subsections. If you could remember, like when was RTI Act was formulated and various amendments that have been done to it. And it gave the exemption for all the personal information from disclosure and removing the previously established exceptions. So Indian citizen is free to seek answers from the government authority and funds allotted under different kinds of relief funds in the country. So this gives basically the powers to the citizens to ask and look into the works for maintaining the transparency and the the free to be free from corruption. Then the challenges are to this Right to Information Act could be this could be used to misuse the law and harass the public authorities. And also, it has the voluminous information, and citizens asking information, certain things could overload the institution, and they would not be properly functioning for the certain cause that they have been established for. And it will also like attain, it gives publicity to those who have been doing this RTI filing on certain issues. So they could be using it as a publicity stunt. And also, it will inordinately harass and pressurize the public authority, and the lack of digital integration at sub-districts and block levels. So this further blocks the e-governance mechanism. And lack of transparency. Supreme Court has commented on the phenomenon of primarily former bureaucrats being appointed as a commissioners. So usually the chief election commissioners would be who those who have been in the service, the bureaucracy, who those who have been the civil servants and retired, they would be appointed further as the commissioners and the chief commissioner and the commissioners. So what happens in this? You are appointing a person who has worked in the service and as an head to a body where it will look into the flaws and the structural uh, indemnity caused by the person who have worked in the service. So this is indirectly you keeping a watch by the members of the civil servants in order to look into the issues that have to be drawn by their own foreman members. So there is a transparency. Then ineffective record management systems and procedures to collect information from field offices. Then CIC three posts of commissioners remain vacant, even though backlog of appeals and complaints currently stand at nearly 26,800 cases. See, the CIC says that as per the rules, there should not more than 10 officers. Right. So the number has been given, keeping in purview the amount of work that has been implied upon them or the amount of workflow that would come to the office, especially in a democracy like India. So it is there for a purpose. But now, if even if all those 10 numbers have not been filled, and the extra pressure would be on other seven members who have been in this position. So they will be overburdened with that extra work. So that's how, because just like as the judiciary is running, excuse me, as judiciary is running with uh, like extra cases or overburdened with certain cases, same thing like any government office has been lack on structural uh, existence, and the manpower is less and the demand is more. So that's why here also in CIC, it is bringing a lot of pressure on the members. In a way, in a way, this gets delayed in the information that has been asked by the citizens. So sometimes what happens is these officers or these members sometimes lack knowledge of the act to deal with the RTA applications. And also citizens are not really aware of how does this RTI work and what information that I could ask so that to bring up transparency and question why the things have been getting delayed. So on the part of both the parties, the the information is overburdened or they have lack of structural uh, knowledge. So this in a way brings up why the things have been getting delayed and not working up to the mark. And the June 30, 2021, there are around like 2.56 lakh appeals were pending with 26 information commissions in the country. So you can imagine the amount, the flow that these information commissions under the RTI Act have been getting through. And it's like even if 100 people ask for it, hardly that one or a 10 could be processed. So remaining are being given the pending status. So what happens in this? The citizens of India may lose trust in that institution because we've been asking the information from the commission ever since, but it hasn't replied so far. So what is the purpose of me filing an case, me filing an RTI? Asking for the necessary information that I wanted, which could help me do my things betterly. So this delay is bringing disrespect or loss of trust on government institutions in the minds of citizens. then people are not much aware of RTI. So the basically people are given less information. They don't have proper information of how this commission works. So they don't know to utilize betterly for the betterment of their lives as a citizen of India. Okay, so with lack of information and lack of knowledge on how this commission works and how their rules could be, and how being a citizen of India, your rights could be utilized properly, the citizens are unaware of this commission's functions. Then the intelligence and security organizations specified in the second schedule to the Act are exempted from furnishing information under the Act. Now let's imagine like RTI if dropped on how much the India has been spending on accumulating the military weapons, how much India has been spending on defense, in recruitment of the army, and what all weapons or arms that it has been importing from foreign, or it is developing on its own, or what are the developmental programs that have been taking on which could help deploy a better protection or the army. All such information, if it is present under RTI, now imagine how it could be misused by an enemy country. Okay, because the information is out in public, then what protection does it give to the country as such? So, for the purpose of same, some of the information, some of the uh, where information where the country's in the freedom could be at risk is exempted under second schedule to the RTI Act from furnishing any information on under that act. So, as a citizen, it is your right, but also as a citizen, it is your right to protect. It is your duty to protect the integrity and the sovereignty of the nation, so that secret information would not be leaked out, which could be a security threat to the nation itself. So, as a part of this, this information is exempted to be filed in a complaint. And also, it does not apply if the requested information pertains to the allegations of corruption and human right violations. So, this basically exempts some of the crucial things like army, defense, and information, anything related to the human rights violations, allegations of corruptions. So, all these things are exempted from giving information in under Right to Information Act. So today's lecture we have read about Niti Aayog. So what happened? Niti Aayog is an offshoot of Election Commission of India. Sorry, Planning Commission of India. So the Niti Aayog has been an body, whether it's a structure and composition is very strong in comparison with the planning commission, because it has involved various chief ministers, prime ministers, and even the grassroots level resources, which could help evolve the policies and the betterment on an upscale, which will in turn help them. So let's suppose if there's any state that has been wanting to develop policy in certain area or certain criteria, then that also could be helped. Okay, Niti Aayog can also give its valuable information for the betterment if asked for. So, and its structures remains all around, and it will do or manage the policy formulation on a real-time analysis rather than at the end of the 5 year. So, which could help rectify the policy, because the changing market dynamics and the political economic structure, if the time is important here. So once if an issue or a problem to be addressed uh, or needed in an emergency real time, then it should be addressed immediately. Otherwise, later on, that might be very devastating, and even the structure could not be changed later. So that's how the Niti Aayog, and it has got an CEO, then governing councils, and it involves states in formulating their own policies and help the union to give inputs on how this policy could be better for the looking into the stats of their states. And another important feature, it's an offshoot which looks into a concept of cooperative federalism and the competitive federalism. So basically, the competitive spirit it brings up between the states, where the states can make the policies, and also states are free to make policies for if they deem that it is beneficial to their st- if it deems to be beneficial to itself, where it is self-funded by itself, like rather than it is centrally sponsored and they want to change the provisions as per their needs, but it has to be their own self-funded, and also they can look into the schemes which are on an percentage of central and state divisions, the allocations, and this also further encourages this policy development and scientific development by an experts and the fellows who would further help in betterment of policy making in India. Then there are certain objectives also like innovative improvements, then establishing the latest in investments, latest technological hubs, and focusing on startups, encouraging the intelligentsia, all these things, and to look into a decentralized planning and resolve conflict resolution and capacity building. These are the objectives and the certain prospects of Niti Aayog. So please go through again because it's very important. And also you have to remember this document like vision, strategy, and action plan, 15-year vision document. This is by Niti Aayog. So this is to basically to cover all the social goals of the government. This is very important for an MCQ. And certain initiatives by Niti Aayog also should be understood. Then the agricultural reforms, these information reforms that Sati, all these schemes for the citizen centric uh, development. Then we have also read the Chief Central Information Commission. This is also very important. This is by Gazette notification of Central India. It's a statutory body. Okay. You have to understand statutory body, government, constitutional body, and non-constitutional bodies. And its headquarters also in Delhi. There has to be a Central Information Commission, and also there has to be a State Information Commission, which are to be run by the center, and the State Information Commission have to be run by the state. In Central Information Commission, they are appointed by the President of India. Then in State Information Commission, they are to be appointed. This body has to be formed by Chief Minister. Then the organizational committee where they will give come up with certain name is to be by it is headed by Prime Minister. Then it also involves leader of opposition. Then any union cabinet minister that has to be nominated by the Prime Minister. So these all can be members who suggest name. Then eligibility also we have read eminent knowledge, should not hold office of profit, and should not be a member of the house as an MLA or an MP. Then salary is same as that of election commissioner. And interestingly, they are not eligible for reappointment. And because this has been made in recent amendments of 2019, then they should not hold the office if as prescribed by the central government, because timeline here they did not mention 5 years, 2 years, etc. Timeline is nothing. The tenure years is just decided by the central government, or if they have attained an age of 65 years. So then salary will be same. Then it has also power of a civil court. Then it can reject an application of a citizen if they think that its information could put the country's security at risk. And it also has a suo motu power, so it acts as a civil court. So in that they can summon anything. They can summon any person, any public servant to ask for information, anything like that, and to compensate for any loss to be suffered by an applicant. The state is an information commissioner is by like appointments committee is headed by chief minister, then same leader of opposition, then minister to be appointed or nominated by the chief minister. Then this right to information act has been implied under article 19, which says information without information cannot be fully used by the citizens. So what did it do? It basically replaced this Freedom Act. Then all the services that has to be provided for the citizens. All these are all like information that we have read in this lecture. So if they ask Niti Aayog, write its origin, why it has been replaced, its motto, the members, the committees, then councils, then initiatives, then objectives. All these things you have to write. Then if there's a Right to Information Act, how it has established help transparency of the government institutions means you can write the Chief Information Commission and how they are appointed, what are its functions, and how they uphold the information and the security, and how they give information to the citizens, and what are informations can get through. So all these things you have to write in while writing an answer. And certain drawbacks would be like the retired bureaucrats are appointed as the commissioners. So where does it bring transparency? You can question like that. And like I cannot question on human rights violation or corruption charges that has been put on. So how can this information be hidden where the violation could be at any level. So these all things you can write as a drawbacks. So this is all about Niti Aayog and CIC for today. So again, in another lecture, we'll learn about the state politics in state politics in India. So till then, please go through the previous lectures and uh, again make a notes of it. It will be very useful in your semester exams, NSEM, because if you make a notes ahead, it will be very useful for you to revise. Otherwise, it will be hectic and you won't come up with a better answers. So see you all again in another class.